All right, Menopause Monday. Happy Monday to these two beautiful ladies, Natalie and Ramona. Ow,
Happy Monday.
Monday, the 7th of April. Oh my goodness, it'll be almost Easter next weekend.
And then Christmas.
Oh, stop it.
Like the next day.
She got from Easter to Christmas. Lord help us.
Merry Christmas.
All right, today we have the beautiful Ramona Riley, who's been on our show before, and you were our live event speaker when we did our thing back in October. So we're so happy to have you again. Vagina Lady is here, and today she's gonna talk about menopause and sex. It's gonna get hot in here, everybody, for who's watching the replay. So get your fans going. A little bit about Ramona. You are a fertility specialist and specializing in hormonal health and womb wellness. You are a birth and postpartum doula, a placenta specialist, and does pelvic floor and detox therapy. Got it right? Did I miss anything?
Pretty much it.
All right. Welcome, Ramona. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for
my
being
darling.
here with us on this very
Thanks for
juicy, hot, important topic for us ladies and
Yes,
Guys,
women to talk about.
yes.
All right, so let's jump straight in. I love Natalie's first question, which I think was amazing. What inspired your passion for helping women navigate sex and intimacy during menopause?
So I think it started with just in general. I find that women, you know, the older we get, not even meaning peri or menopause, that there is a decline in the desire for sex, especially compared to the men. Right. So the older we get, we don't really want to do it as often, where men want it more. And so I started helping my clients just from that point of view. Yes, some of them, they would have had like a libido issue, which is a hormonal issue. And so we would be trying to fix that. But that's kind of where the whole sex part started for me. And then when I got down into this whole menopause thing, and realized what was now going on, uh, perimenopause or through menopause, where now women are absolutely libido is gone, vaginal dryness is happening, don't feel sexy anymore, don't even know whose body this is. And so there was definitely something I felt like I needed to encourage and push so there was a little passion behind that. Yes, for sure.
I think
So
that's
needed.
great. I
Yeah,
think
it's so
that's great.
needed.
Yeah, I actually was sitting down with a client the other day, and she brought her husband in. Actually, they came to talk about body contouring, and then eventually we ended up talking about menopause because his question, and it was such an astute question. He was like, "Is her perimenopause going to affect the body contouring treatment?" Then we start to go down that whole rabbit hole of what her symptoms are and everything, and like this, you could tell that this is a very loving couple, but I wanted to cry for the man. Like it ended up being him basically asking, like, "You think we're ever gonna have sex again?" Like he didn't ask that, but it was like that, like
Pretty much that.
yeah. And I was like, damn, we need to sort this out because here's this couple, here's this beautiful man in love with this beautiful woman, and she just no wants him to touch her.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah,
So
it's a huge thing that's been going on for a while. Again, we just haven't been talking about it. And I think just in general, when it comes to woman's health, woman care for self,
yeah.
woman femininity, woman sexuality, we were not educated, we were not told, we didn't go to school that day, clearly, because we didn't get the memo. And so it's kind of sad. It is kind of sad that that's
And
the
then on top of
thing.
that, we know that men, like, if we think about the stereotypes that are perpetuated in like common culture, certainly with the Jamaican or Caribbean parentage and outlook and whatnot, men are supposed to want sex. Women are supposed to give sex. Women are not necessarily empowered to be sexual beings that are out there, not out there, but that are sharing drive and libido. And like, we're not taught in any way, nor are we supported to be sexually expressive.
Right. Yeah. and it starts from even a younger age, you know what I mean? So the conversations that we're having now, us, in our 40s, in our 50s, these are conversations that we should have had when we were 20, when we were 25, understanding certain things instead of being like, that's long from now, that's so far from now. The reality is it comes up real quick. I mean, we're in April right now. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
so time is definitely moving and flying,
Well, it's
Yeah.
also a conversation. We talk about conversations and we say about menopause. So let us dig into a little bit about
Yes.
why. I mean, why does menopause actually affect the libido? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty because some women have this feeling, I don't have the libido, I don't have the thing, but they don't understand why this is happening to them. So let's just give them a little synopsis. So this is a real thing, but why? What is it? What is it? Why is it?
So it's actually very simple. It's not brain science. It's really just the estrogen levels, right? Her estrogen levels are low, so libido is low, and vaginal dryness is high, right? So it's really just the estrogen level that has been so depleted that makes her not want to. And then again, even before she gets to menopause, the estrogen starts to dwindle down little by little by little. So her libido starts to go down way before actual menopause probably even starts, right? So she's with her husband and he wants sex 5 times a week and she doesn't have it in her, right? She hasn't necessarily reached menopause or perimenopause, but she's getting closer, and it's because her estrogen levels are decreasing. So it's really about the estrogen. So when we're 25 and we're 35, we don't want too much estrogen in our bodies because then you have fibroids and you have endometriosis and you have PCOS and all these reproductive conditions. And then 10 years later, no, you don't have enough estrogen. Now your vagina doesn't work the way you want to. Now you have hot flashes. Now all of those things come back down to the lack of estrogen that's in the body.
Okay. So it's
Simple.
yep, it's simple. But to have the conversations before this really actually happens to women, I think is very important. Leading up to menopause, the perimenopause stage, we should be having these conversations
Yeah.
that it's likely to happen, it's going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I just think our society doesn't talk about things in general. I mean, even just aging, my mom is 82. She's going through dementia right now. And I'm trying to figure my thing out. I'm trying to figure out her thing. And then she's aging and you're watching your parents age. And that's something that's supposed to happen. Like our parents were supposed to bury us. We're supposed to bury them. But still, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, we are not taught how to deal. Our parents aren't taught how to age and how to age gracefully. So we don't talk about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Menopause being one of the big ones, for sure.
Yeah, why though? Because like I myself, I have 3 daughters, right? So I'm cautious in how I have conversations with them, right? But I don't want to hide things from them. But then they think I'm weird when just out of the blue I go, all right, guys, let's talk about sex. And they're like, Mom, you're so cringe,
So gross, Mom.
So it's not even that we don't want to have the conversation. Sometimes we don't know how to have the conversations. So I think Nikki and I are doing a really good job of putting stuff out there, and then we have these conversations. But we're having conversations with people in this forum who are already open-minded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we are talking like people who are watching. They're kind of watching it from the outside, and they may jump in with a question. So I think we're doing a job in elucidating, is that a word? The issue, illuminating the issue. But even like, how do you sit down and tell your partner, all right, so I'm gonna go check out this doctor because my vagina hurts when we have sex. I mean, that's weird. Or I'm gonna go talk to this specialist because I feel like I'm wee-weeing in my panty when I sneeze.
Right. It's weird. It's a weird convo. But this is but what I will say is the reason why it's so weird to talk about that at that point is because we're not talking before, right?
Yeah.
Couples are talking, the communication. So even just when it comes to sex, right? So there's no problem. There's no hormonal problem. It's just the sex, the man, the woman, the sex. a lot of times women aren't telling the men what they want. They're not telling them what they like. They're not telling them how it feels good. They're not verbalizing themselves. They're not. So we don't even talk about how good something feels in bed and how our punana feel nice and it up and wet up and everything's nice. So we're not talking about that then. And then no, you want us to talk about my vagina dry and my vagina smell funny and my vagina. We're not going to. We don't even talk about the good part of sex. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we have to change it. We don't want to wait until we're now going through a problem. Now we're uncomfortable. The problem is there. How do we go through and navigate? We want to start from the beginning. We want to put in our heads that we have a partner the same way how we're going to be intimate and sexual with this partner is the same way that we need to be intimate and verbal with our partner, right? So we talk about it. So if something happened with your period, you say it, right? If just don't. The more we hide and the more we try to act like we're perfect and we're normal or any of that, that is when we start going down a rabbit hole of crosses, right? Because no, we can't come back out of that, and our partner has this impression of us that, oh, she's all right, oh, she's good, oh, when the whole time she's really not, because she's been faking her orgasms for the past 5 years with you.
Right.
Right? But she's not talking about that. She's not letting him know that, honey, I actually prefer this more than that. And I tell my clients all the time, you don't have to say what he's doing sucks. You can say it in a sexy way. You can be like, oh, baby, why don't you just touch me here then? Oh, nah, nah. You don't have to say, don't touch me there, that don't feel good. Right? You can make it sexy, right? But yeah, it's the lack of communication is a huge problem for us when it comes to sex.
It's to be able to have that feeling comfortable to have that conversation. But I want to ask you a question for the ladies who, let me say, were never really interested in sex, or they never really had a high libido to begin with. Maybe it was good, but it wasn't like, oh my God, have to have it all the time. Is it for them? Is it normal to feel less interested in sex? I mean, what is the difference between feeling that normal for them, that I'm really not interested in sex, and maybe I need to go and speak to somebody about this? Because for a woman who is not, it doesn't really have a high libido all of her life, she enjoys sex, but it's not something. How does she, when she hears this and she reads this, or she, experiences this, she's like, oh my God, should I be like jumping my husband every night? What's wrong with me? So is it, for that woman, what do we say to a woman like that?
Well, I mean, if she was never a high libido type of woman, the expectation for her now in her lower 40s, going into now her 50s, the expectation of her being the sexual demon goddess, is a little unrealistic, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There are some women that when they get into their 40s and their 50s, there is something that has awakened in them. And maybe that's because, they were going through such a rough time with perimenopause and they were going through such a rough time with menopause. And now that all of that is over, they feel so much better that they're more willing and more inclined to have sex. But for the most part, if your libido has been low from before, you can't be surprised that it's low during perimenopause and menopause. Again, though, that estrogen level, right? We definitely want to raise that. And we want to find different ways too, if it is that you have a partner, it makes it a little bit more difficult, right? Because now you have this person that you should be pleasing, right? I mean, you wouldn't want your husband to get up one day and say, so I'm not pay the mortgage this month. Like you wouldn't want that. And not that it is the woman's job to just have sex with her husband, but it's a part of it, right? We're supposed to be pleasing each other and taking care of each other sexually and in other ways. So if we're talking about this woman who is with her partner and she does not have a sexual drive or motivation, her estrogen level definitely needs to raise, right? And she can do that in many different forms. It just really depends on, financially where she is, her routine, all of those things play a part in what's the best way for her to get estrogen healthily in her body. But even sometimes it's not necessarily that the woman isn't sexual or she doesn't feel turned on. A lot of times it's something about the penis, you know. It's something about the vaginal aspect. It's the Lord, you have to go do this, and Lord, you have to go do that. And I think some of that also shifts the dynamics. So I will tell my clients sometimes, like, start with just having your partner sit down on the bed, sit down on the floor. You sit down in front of your partner. You put your legs around your partner. You guys hold hands and you look in your partner's eye. You get the stop clock and you put it for 10 minutes. And you hold hands and you just look. And you're going to go through so many different feelings through that, right? You're going to go through, what the hell are we doing? You're going to laugh. You're gonna feel like connected. There's so many feelings that is gonna go through that. And I tell my couples clients all the time, this is where we start, right? We create this safe space. There's nothing else to look at. There's no one else to look at. It's me and it's you, right? And you find how many walls that breaks down. It seems very simple and very, what are you talking about, Ramona? But it breaks down the walls a lot. And that is the beginning. Because again, women are uncomfortable. They don't want to make their man uncomfortable, and they don't want to be uncomfortable themselves.
But hold on, Ramona. I am already feeling, I'm not me, but I am, right?
Yeah.
This woman is. I'm already feeling fat and frumpy, unsexy. I'm sagging. My belly rolls are starting to roll even more. And then there's roles that never had. So, and you're going to tell me I must vulnerabilize myself and strip down naked and sit down in front of my partner.
You don't have to be naked.
Okay.
You don't have to be naked. You can have on a jacket if you want to. It's really just the hair. Okay. The connection, it's the hair and the touching. So this is actually, it's not sexual in any way, but it breaks down the blockages and the barriers so that we can become closer, so that we can become more intimate in whatever way that is. If it's a verbal intimacy, if it's sexual, physical intimacy, because every couple is different, you know, what's important to them.
Okay.
Love that connection. I think doing that connection.
Yeah,
it's a non-sexual. It's not in a sexual way, but you will end up making that sexual connection.
It's almost like that thing. It's like foreplay, right? And I tell my clients all the time, foreplay doesn't start when you're naked, you know. Foreplay doesn't start when you're kissing. Foreplay starts when he sent you flowers this morning for no damn reason, right? So foreplay, we want to look at that, the different angles of that. That also helps too, because a lot of times we need that foreplay, and the foreplay can't be 5 minutes and it can't be 10 minutes. Sometimes it has to be longer than that to make sure that she's okay, she's lubricated. Because I always tell men, never put that penis inside of a woman if she is not leaking, right? That is her body begging for it. You want her body to beg for it, because by that time her uterus rises, she's all wet down there, and it's harder for her to be in pain from that point of view, which is obvious.
You know, I was listening to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, talking on that sort of non-sexual connection. I was listening to a podcast recently, and the sex expert was saying that what she does with her husband is that they make out every night, but it's not, but they vow and they promise not to have sex. So whether it is flirting, rubbing, touching, whatever, they, you know, like teenagers making out, but they're not going to have sex. And she says that has definitely brought their connection much deeper together, because there's no pressure to actually have the sex. It's just all about that feeling of, hey, I feel sexy, he's touching my hair, or, you know. So I really, that was good. It was similar to what you said about the connection. Sorry, Nats, go ahead.
And that kissing thing is huge, right? Because remember, your mouth is connected to the vagina, and so what the mouth is doing. So that's why, for example, in pregnancy, I'll give our mom a lollipop and suck on her lollipop while she's delivering her baby, right? It opens up the vagina, it opens up that whole area, you know. Or giving your husband or partner head while you're in labor, that works too, as long as you're not like 8 centimeters and dying, right? But again, because it's connected, it works.
Okay.
Wow, I did not know that. Um, when we talk about painful sex being a part of one of the perimenopausal menopausal signs, I know that there's thinning of the vaginal wall that will occur, right? I know that there is less lubrication that will occur. We've recently been talking a lot about pelvic floor and the support or lack thereof. So I'm assuming that things are a little lower down. But are there any other reasons for the pain experienced during sex? Is it pain upon entry? Is it pain because of the dryness and friction? Or is it pain because he's hitting something that he wasn't hitting before? Like, what's the reasons?
I think the majority of the reason is that the lack of lubrication is huge. I think that's one of the main things, because that just makes sex horrible in general. I guess you could also say because the pelvic floor has dropped a little bit more, and so it's easier to get to things and to touch things because it's dropped down some more. That definitely plays a part as well. Because now the bladder is lower, the uterus is lower, everything is lower. That pelvic floor thing is it's something that we should be doing, and we should start from early, right? We should really start from early. The only times we hear about pelvic floor stuff is when you're pregnant, and then now when you're in menopause, like it's lost everywhere else. So again, it's something that we're not talking about and not educating ourselves about. And some people don't even know exactly what to do when it comes to pelvic floor strengthening and that kind of stuff. So maybe we need to talk about that one day.
Yeah.
Or do it.
And we actually had a great conversation last week with Dr. Chitra Charian, and that video is up. Because there is we do focus on Kegels, and then what Dr. Chitra Charian was telling us is that Kegels is not the only thing. And sometimes you need to learn to relax, sometimes you need to strengthen. So really, really important, that whole pelvic floor stuff. What can we do about vaginal dryness then, if that's probably one of the main causes of painful sex? Aside from like a KY jelly or a lube, or like what are some of the other things that we can do?
Well, I want to add to that question actually, because I think it's important. What is the difference between vaginal moisturizers and lubricants? Because there's so much out there. What is the difference between a vaginal moisturizer and a lubricant?
Okay, so the texture will probably be different. Okay, the lubricant is going to see more, and I guess it depends if it's water based versus oil based. Also, that is going to kind of change the texture as well. But if we're talking about the betterment of your vagina when it comes to moistness and healing the issue, because if we use just a regular lubricant or something, like, we're not healing what the problem is, right? And we always want to get to the root of the problem. So if we're talking vaginal dryness, I will always say, when you get up in the morning and you wash your face, what do? You lotion your face. You put moisturizer on your face. You put a serum on your face. You put sunblock on your face. You put about 4 or 5 different things on your face every morning and every night before you go to bed, because you want your skin to be supple, and you want your pores to be shrunken, and you want all these things to happen. When you bathe, what you do with your vagina after you bathe? Nothing. Dry. Nothing. All you do is patter, dryer, and you keep it moving. No, we want to treat our vagina the way we treat our face. Moisturize her. Don't even wait until you start getting dry to moisturize her, okay? Get some coconut oil. Get some I hate that word.
Jojoba.
That one. Get the jojoba oil, castor oil, coconut oil. Now, again, because of everybody's pH and everybody's makeup, you will realize that there's one that works better for you. But those 3 oils are the best oils to go in your vagina. And just massage your vagina. You can do perineal massage. You can just oil her up, and just every day, twice a day, every time you bathe, just get in the habit of that. We don't do anything normally throughout our female years for our vaginas. We don't do anything for it. It has to bleed. We use pads, we use tampons. Majority of them are toxic. we do not show our vagina love. And then by the time we reach 45 and 50, you're wondering why she's broken down. Because we're not showing the love. So if you're worried about your vagina ever going dry, or if it is dry, I recommend using one of those 3 oils to massage or just lubricate, moisturize. And then if we're talking about during sex, I would also use one of those. I think those are better. I think they're much better than like a water-based lube. And again, it's better with pH, because a lot of the lubes throw off your pH balance, right? So now you're suffering with a dry vagina and a stinky vagina. It sucks. You're more likely to not have sex than before,
Right. And I guess coconut oil, because it has caprylic acid, would be good, because caprylic acid and yeast are not friends. So
right.
depending
And then there antibacterial stuff in coconut oil, so that works as well. I think coconut oil is a great lube for sex. Like, just based off of the taste of it, the smell of it, everything like that. I think it's one of the best ones to use for sure.
Okay.
And then you can wash it and it can come out of your clothes easier than a castor oil. That's a little hard.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Jacana actually has a lubricant, and it has a little CBD oil in there as well.
That's a vibe.
Yeah, they had it at our in-person event the other day.
I love that. I love that. I have to look into that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend that to my clients. CBD is great in general as well.
Yeah. So we touched a little bit about early on pelvic floor, and I know that we've had a couple of people on, but my question to you is, can pelvic floor therapy actually help with sexual pleasure or pain during intercourse? And how can women sort of access it safely then, if you will?
Okay, so if the woman is having pain because everything is tight and clenched and that type of thing, then pelvic floor strengthening would be done differently for someone like that. Okay. Now, if we're talking that pain is more just from penetration of sex, not that everything is tightened up, then that's a different story. What I would recommend if a woman has that problem, number one, I really think steaming really helps with that sexual thing, right? Vaginal steaming relaxes the area, and not just the vaginal area, but the anus as well, okay? And this is a safe space. We're not judging people. You have sex the way you want to have sex, okay? And so if we are able to relax that vaginal area and relax that anal area, then sex is going to be much more pleasurable for you, right? When I steam a woman and she goes and has sex with her partner that same day, they both enjoy sex more, right? She's warmer down there. She's wetter down there. She's more relaxed down there. He can do more.
Okay.
Right? And she feels better. So vaginal steaming, I would definitely say, in terms of pain. What I say? Moisturizing again, that would be important. But yeah, I would recommend steaming. I think it's for something so easy. And there's a lot of backlash with steaming. Some people be like, no, don't steam. It's not good for you. It's not healthy. But the reality is that steaming has been going on for centuries, right? It is what we used to do all the time after you have a baby. It's how we release all the extra blood. It's how we release the extra placenta stuff and whatever could be in there, right? So it's just really more about what you're using to steam, more than steaming being bad. So I would definitely recommend steaming in terms of pain for sure.
Okay. So let's shift a little bit now to the body-mind connection. Stress, sleep, mood changes, those can all affect your sexual desire, your sexual wants, your needs, satisfaction.
Yeah, they will.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It will definitely affect it.
So that's an important topic for women to talk about and realize that it's a mind-body connection. So when our minds are not in a safe space or a good space, it is going to actually affect our sexual desires, our libido, and that kind of stuff. So that I think that's important.
Yeah, man. I mean, I mean, anything. I mean, stress, annoyance, feeling overwhelmed, brain fog,
Lack of sleep.
lack of sleep, weight gain, all these things are going to shift her for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, body image, the
Yes,
role
of
of
course,
body
because what,
image during
yes,
menopause.
because how she sees herself now, you know,
Yeah.
and especially I think it's even harder for the woman that has always had a high body image, right? The woman that always put herself together and she always looked good and she's slim and she's sexy and she's nice and she this, and then she gets to a certain age or a certain stage of her life and then she's not seeing that same person. I think it's even harder for her, you
Yeah.
know, than the woman who, yeah, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. And then she put on a 5 pounds or a 10 pounds. And it's not so bad for her. It's bad enough, but it's not that bad.
Well, that goes
Ramona,
back to
let's
what
dive in.
Natalie said. That's what goes back to what you said, Nat. It's about when wrapping your legs around your partner and you're the rolls of fat and you're feeling this and you're feeling frumpy.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
that that same body image. How can you feel sexy in that moment?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to dive into a little bit more, Ramona. Like, what can a woman do? Forget about the man for now, but what can a woman do to improve her view of herself? I mean, there are certain things that you can't ever take away. Like,
Right.
yes, your skin is looser. Yes, you do have more mass. Right? So what can we do to make ourselves feel sexier? And
So, you know that thing that they say when you feel bad or when you don't feel good, that is when you must dress up and look like you feel amazing because
yeah,
there is a connection with the mind and the body and how you see yourself.
yes,
Um, I definitely think that's something that we need to think more about. It takes more effort, yes, of course. Worse if you're not feeling good. But trying to put ourselves together in some kind of way, wearing your favorite color, maybe even the perfume that you use. If we can't always focus on what is negative and what is bad, right? We want to sometimes think about the things that are good. So yes, you have more role and these types of things, but when it comes to this part of the age of your life right now, you are so much more. You should be more in tune with self. You should know self more. You should love self more, right? That is what we should be at this point. It's at this point. But the
mhm,
reality is that we don't because we haven't spent the past 40 years learning to love ourselves or learning to accept ourselves.
right.
Because even when we were 25, a lot of people didn't even love themselves then. They didn't like how they looked. They wanted abs. They didn't have abs. They wanted more bottom. They wanted. So it's almost like, are we even ever happy with what we have? You know what I mean? So I
Constantly
think you have to,
chasing, constantly
yeah,
chasing. Yeah.
always. So I think that we have to stop first and just look into self love. Get a piece of paper, write down all the things you love about yourself, all of them. It could be an eyelash, all the things you love about yourself, right? And and then with your affirmations every morning, make it be a part of your affirmations,
Right.
right? I love how my body is changing because it means that I am building wisdom and this and that. I don't know, whatever it is that you need to say to make yourself feel better, right? I think we also need to look into like even how we're dressing and and dressing for our bodies, dressing for our
Yes.
vibes, dressing, that is something also that we need to think about. Because again, we have to understand that all these things are phases, right? These are phases of our lives. So this is now another phase and we need to own it and we need to love it and we need to be grateful for this next stage, because if we didn't go to this next stage, we'd be underneath the ground or burnt in somebody's place and
Yes.
you
Yes.
know having our ashes dashed somewhere, right? So there needs to be an empowerment, a love for self, and from that empowerment and love for self, that now can motivate us to then do what we think we can do to fix what we don't like. But it's hard to get that motivation when you pop. Like, where is that motivation really going to come from? So those affirmations every single morning, those affirmations every single night, it seems simple, but I'm telling you, You can write down affirmations that you absolutely don't believe, right? You don't believe that you actually look good. It's fine. Just write it, say it every morning, right? I bet you in 2 months, you're going to feel better about yourself, right? You're going to start believing it. You're saying it every day. And when you do those affirmations, you look in that mirror, right? You don't just look out. Look in the mirror, look at yourself, talk to yourself, right? I am amazing, radiant, and this chapter of my life is, I'm going to bloom more than I've bloomed before, whatever it is, right? So I think that is one of the things that we can do. Of course, figuring out what works for our body when it comes to dressing, when it comes to these types of things, because our body has changed, right? So maybe you can't wear the belly skin anymore, or maybe you want things not as tight, but you want it loose. But you can find what we need to understand is that it's a process, and so it's okay to know that you're figuring it out. You don't have to have it figured out already, right? You don't have to, especially because our moms and our great grandmothers wasn't telling us nothing anyway. So we now have to figure it out. So our daughters don't go through it the way we are. Right. So even now, empowering our daughters, you are beautiful. God made you the way you are. Da, 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 whatever the case is. So yes, we're doing this for self, but we got to think about the younger generation too, so that they don't have to
So
do
that
it
we're
the way
setting a
we're
good
doing.
example for them. We're setting
Yeah,
a good
we're role
example.
models. Yeah.
Yeah.
To be a role model about body acceptance.
About
Because
body acceptance.
body acceptance, because we see that the teenagers, the 20-year-olds, they're still striving. They're thin as a rake, and they're like they want to be thinner, or they want to have
Yeah.
abs. It's something that's, as older women, we need to be role models. No, we don't
Yeah.
have our shit figured out, but we are learning about body acceptance in this transitional stage that we're in menopause.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I wanted to jump on something that Ramona said and bring it home a little more. So, you know how you said if you're having a bad day, you put on your best clothes and your makeup and your lipstick and you do your hair and you bring yourself up with how you're treating yourself. How many of us, and we don't need to show hands, we can just answer internally, have torn up house clothes, holy panties, like think about the things that you're wearing to bed. Think about the things that you're wearing around the house. And, maybe you got in the habit of just wearing old clothes that you didn't want to wear out anymore and wearing them around the house. How about you have some little sexy things that are around the house? So now you can start to feel, and they don't have to be sexy like lacy and revealing and whatnot, but just stuff that you feel comfortable in, that makes you feel good when you're around the house, because then maybe that will bring that feeling that you will take into the bedroom when the evening comes.
No, I
Yeah.
love
Facts.
that. I think that,
Yeah.
that's very important. But it also has to resonate with you, Nance, because somebody who's feeling very, okay, I'm a little too heavy or whatever, and they put on something like a negligee, they're gonna probably look at themselves and go, no,
Oh
no,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So
It
I think
probably,
yeah, you have to kind of resonate with you. You have to it has to have something, but it has to sit with you, because then you don't want to plunge
Absolutely.
yourself into, oh my God, seriously, I cannot be wearing a negligee at my size, because then that's another rabbit
yeah,
hole that we go down.
yeah, it's another issue. But I think too, even if it's down to something just like the texture of the clothing, maybe even that. So maybe it's
Yes.
not even the
Or a
color
nice
or what it's
robe.
shaped or
Mhm.
a nice robe, but just because it feels so good on your skin, that could be a thing. Not necessarily that you physically look like a sexy mama,
Yeah, yeah,
right? But whatever feels good, as you say, whatever, it's all about the feeling. The feeling. It
yeah.
starts with the feeling.
And then let's
Feeling.
take that to the bed sheets, and let's take that to the candles in the bedroom. Like let's take that to
Yes, and the music,
triggering
and
all
then
of our
something.
senses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but so
and
I
that's why. Sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 go ahead, go ahead.
That is why I love tantric sex. And it's something that I really push when it comes to even women with men up going through menopausal symptoms or perimenopausal. Because then again, with tantric, it brings the two people together, right? So the man and the woman, they come together closer. You're doing breath work, you're doing meditation, you're doing touch, you're using smell, you're using all of your different, what's the word I'm looking for, senses. and bringing closer and getting closer to each other. I think tantric sex is great. You can do tantric by yourself. You can do it by yourself. You don't have to have a partner, which they call white tantric. But if you're going to do red tantric would be with a partner. Maybe man and woman, woman and woman, however that goes. And it's great. I mean, we're talking about your solar plexus chakra, your root chakra, your sacral chakra. All of that gets stimulated and spins and flips and balanced and
Miss,
yes.
me hear about tantric sex from way back when, from the days when we used to listen Sting on the radio and them talk about tantric sex, right? I have zero idea what tantric sex is. I'm sure I'm not alone. Can you please explain? Educate us, please.
Okay, so tantric sex is using, with a partner, is using sound, breath, color, touch, smell, and hearing to tap into each other sexually, right? Usually it's something that you would want to be educated on by a practitioner. Maybe that a practitioner is there with you while you are experiencing, or the practitioner teaches you, and then you go off by yourself and you and your partner go and do what you guys do. But it is literally meditation, breath work, touch, all of that that's combined together. And it's usually like a series. So you would do a few different, so there are like a few different classes that you would do. You wouldn't learn everything in one shot, but it definitely brings that closeness. You see that thing that I was telling you about with your legs wrap around your man and all of that? That's one of those things that is from tantric sex, right? That's something that you would do. That's how you break down the barriers first. And then you find that the connection is so strong.
Okay.
So much stronger.
So you're using your senses. You're using
senses. You're using touch. You're using breath work. You're using all of these different things. So of course, this is from the Asia, the eastern side of the world, right? And usually these are things that you would do separately, right? You wake up in the morning, you do a meditation, let's say, for example, or you do breath work, inhale, hold for 4, exhale for 4, whatever. But now it's bringing it all together. And then, as I said, when we're talking about that sacral chakra that gets like stimulated and activated, of course, your reproductive system, vagina, all of that is in the sacral area, right? So it is being stimulated and awakened and balanced. So it's almost like you're getting healing from all different aspects. So tantric sex is a vibe. I learned about it first time at Hedonism, and then when I would teach classes there, and just to see how the couples were the first time that they would have gone to the class versus the last class, it was like two completely different couples. The connection was just intense.
Well, what I would love you to do is if you have like a link to a website or something, just drop that into my WhatsApp, after, so that I can pop it in the replay email for the ladies. And if they want to explore a little bit further how, because I mean, this is also speaking to women who have not had, they need to reconnect to their pleasure. They have gone long time, months, maybe years, maybe they've lost a partner, maybe they've had health issues. And so being able to empower a woman to reconnect to that pleasure part of themselves is so important. So I would go further to ask you is what role does we'll call it self-exploration play in that when
Huge.
we should do that? Because I mean, again, some women don't know about it. Some women are very embarrassed about it. Some women don't think it's something that is spoken about.
Right. And again, so we're now embarrassed and we're ashamed about masturbating, and we need to hide it, and we need to. So it is decades and decades of us shoving it under the rug, ignoring it, being embarrassed. You know what I mean? And now we're 50 and we're supposed to be like, I'm top of the world. I feel good. I'm the best version of myself. It's kind of hard to expect that. It's very hard to expect that. But yes, even with, that's why I say the communication is very important, because even if you're with your you could be single, you could have a partner. What used to feel good and what used to pleasure you when you were 35, by the time you get to 50 could be very different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the clitoris is still a place for you in terms of to get aroused, but it's not the same part of the clitoris. Maybe you prefer more stimulation under the clitoris versus the top of the clitoris, right? Maybe it is that you don't even want clitoral stimulation as much. The stimulation feels better on the mound, closer to the mound area than it would necessarily the clitoral area, because it's closer to the vagina and it's a little, it make you a little bit more funny, right? Worse now if you have gone through some kind of sexual abuse. Okay, so now you also have to now reconnect and figure out what feels good to you, what you're okay with because of that trauma, right? But as our bodies change, we need to know what we like, what we need, and we can't expect our partner to know when we don't know. So we need to remove this thing about we're embarrassed about masturbating. Stop that. We've been masturbating since we were 12 and 13 and 14 and 15. Get over it, right?
Mhm.
Men masturbate every day. Why is it okay for them? No, we need to get that out of our minds. The more that, and I'm not saying that masturbation needs to be something that you're doing on a daily basis. It's up to you and how you want to do it. But you need to know yourself. You need to touch yourself. You need to know what you like. You need to know what you don't like. Just like how you need to know what your vagina looks like. So many women don't even know what that looks like. They've never taken a mirror. They've never looked. They have no clue. So again, the disconnection is very, very real.
And it's really about getting back in tune with your body in that connection. So how can we shift then feeling like and I'm talking about during menopause, that we're losing something? Because for a lot of women, we feel that, we're losing that sex drive, we're losing that body image, we're losing to sort of rediscovering intimacy in a new way. It is a mindset shift that we have to go through, and it is about self-exploration and figuring out what it is that we want in our powerful 50s and 60s going forward, of being
Right.
able to rediscover, as you just said, things that we liked when we were 30s. In our 50s, it's like, no, that doesn't work for me anymore.
Right.
So not to put up with it, but to rediscover who we are in our
And
menopause.
that being okay,
Yeah,
more than okay, that's
yeah,
actually what you want. It's actually the point, right?
yeah.
The point is, at this stage, the reason why our bodies and whatever go through all of this is because it's now a new phase, right? And it's now time to, we're now in the middle aspect right, of our lives, and it's time for us to tap back into, to reassess, to understand what has changed, what hasn't changed. Again, that reassessing, that is what this is for, right? So what you didn't get before, you're learning now. What you knew before, it has changed still. So now you're learning again. And that being okay, and that being a fabulous thing. You're alive on this earth at 50 years old, whatever, to be able to learn more about yourself, right? And then of course to pass that wisdom down to the ones that are younger than. I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah. What about the woman who at this stage of her life, whether through divorce or death, or finds herself single, and you're uncertain about how to re-enter the dating world. The dating world has changed. It's wild and crazy out there. And you've been in a relationship for how long, and committed relationship, and kids are, and like, I'm sure dating in your 50s is very, very different from when we were young and single and carefree and whatnot. What kind of advice would you have for a woman now that finds herself in that space?
Yeah, that's a funny little space. It's a funny little space because even at, you know, and I guess because of our culture, society, I mean, men also at 60 are going through that same thing too. But usually men who are 60 don't necessarily are attracted to 60-year-old women as well. So that
Right.
makes it extremely difficult. Not, and it's not because they're fabulous, right? I mean, it's just I mean, I don't even know why they think they're the prize. But that's a funny one, Nats. I guess at the end of the day, uh, being mentally ready and prepared for that dating world is the first step. Like mentally prepared. Dating, as you said, is not the same. As a matter of fact, I think that we are just learning what dating really is. Like, I don't think 20 years ago and 30 years ago, especially in a culture like Jamaica, we weren't dating. We never dated when we were younger. We met somebody, you hung out 2 times, then you're there. Like, you're my man, you're my woman, and you're there. Like, we never went through this whole dating thing. So our kids now will be learning more about dating and that type of thing as they grow up in their teens and their 20s and their 30s. Whereas we're just learning that. If I wasn't divorced and if you weren't divorced, we wouldn't have even learned about what dating is either, because we would have just been with the same man that we've been with forever, where we were just hanging out and then we got together. So even now, for that 60-year-old woman trying to date, I can only imagine the stresses and the discomfort. And then if we're talking about the body image and all of those things, I guess I would just say she needs to know she's the prize. She
Yes.
needs to she
It
needs to
starts
like
with
tap
her.
into,
Yeah,
yeah, she
it
needs to just
starts
tap
with
into self.
her. Yeah,
Yes,
loving herself
yes,
and being
yes,
completely
yes,
confident and having that
yes,
body image and
yes.
that self-compassion to be able to step out there and
Mhm.
attract that.
Yes, and attract the right that. Because again, you don't want to have to be dating and you're being traumatized in your 60s and your 70s. That crap is hard enough in your 20s and your 30s. So attracting the right type of partner is going to be important too. And how do you do that? You have to be in the right space, right?
Yeah.
You have to, and then the right one will be attracted to you. So that love of self, and do the things you've never done before, and like all of these little things, like making it be about living your best life.
Mhm.
And trust me, that guy or those guys, whatever, no judgment, they will come along. They will definitely come along if you're living in your truth and your purpose. I believe that the universe would send that to you if that's what you have manifested, or at least
And,
attempted.
and what we're discussing here as well, as far as being able to be in touch with yourself, to be able to not be embarrassed. Maybe you didn't have the conversations when you were married before, but now you're single. You're, oh my God, I'm going to have these conversations. So us having this forum for us to really tap into who we are as a woman in her 50s. What is it that she wants, and really stand up for it is that she wants. But what I've learned a lot from this is we talk about menopause and declining estrogen, and that's affecting, the thing. But there are options. There are
Yeah.
options. There's
Yeah.
HRT absolutely, which help, but there are other non-medical, then if you will, options to help women who say, oh, listen, HRT is not for me. So does that mean that's it? I'm done. I can't. But you have
Right.
shared with us, vaginal steaming, the lubricants, the moisturizers, the tantric sex, the connection, the solar exploration. I think there's so much that women can do to get back in touch with themselves. They've gone through the child rearing, they don't feel, they've done all of that. It's now time for us to rediscover who we are. And you have given us such beautiful, non-medical, if you will, um, options. So I think that is incredible. I really do.
Phenomenal. I can't believe that Ramona hasn't talked to us about sex toys, though. That would be a great way to explore without necessarily requiring penetration, whether solo or with your partner, right?
Yeah. 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 Either way, get it
But
done.
again, we got to get over those.
Yeah, it's a taboo. It's
Yeah.
like a taboo thing,
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
yeah,
We got to cut the cord. We got to break the cycle. It's up to us,
yeah.
right? So the more we talk about it, you guys are doing an amazing job, bringing awareness and options and tips. And I mean, I'm sure that the community is extremely grateful for you guys, because it's not, nobody else is really making it a thing, because this is a thing, guys. So awesome job.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. So what's the biggest myth? What is the biggest myth about menopause and sex you would like that we could remove or we could
We could
bust?
bust.
We're gonna bust. What's the biggest myth about sex and menopause?
Um,
All people don't have sex.
that 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 I would say just because you're older doesn't mean that the sex isn't amazing. I think it's if we can really tap into that whole make sure our vaginal area gets wet and all of that kind of thing. I mean, I think that the sex would be more amazing with an older woman just because of what she knows and what she's experienced and all those types of things. Because I think a lot of times when people think menopausal women, they're like, oh Lord, that sex not
Mhm.
going to be good, or that sex is not whatever, especially and even past menopause. Let's talk 55, 60. But if she has the desire, I'm sure that the sex is great, unless she's just a lie down kind of girl. But I would say definitely women who are older are have more sexual experience, and so you would find that they could blow your mind out.
Sex in menopause is the
And you're back
bomb.
out.
That's the myth. Sex in menopause is the best. It's the bomb.
Yes, yes. And you don't have to worry about getting pregnant, and you don't have to worry about none of
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
And you can just be like, just come, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what we're doing. This is why we do what we do is to let women step into that arena of
Mhm.
tapping into who we are and sexually, non-sexually, doesn't matter. But in our menopause years, this is where we shine. This is where we rise. This is where we become the most powerful.
Yeah,
Own it.
I love
Absolutely.
it.
Not run away from it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have one last question and then that's going to finish up. What's one thing every woman should know about her body and pleasure in menopause?
Woo. Um,
There are so many. I know you're having a hard time
I
choosing one.
know. So what I would say is, so, and this is not from a masturbation standpoint, but massaging every woman going through perimenopause or menopause should do perineal massages.
Okay.
Okay. And that's not going deep. It's really at the base of the vagina. It's really relaxing. It's not painful. It's something that I teach men to do for their wives when their partner is pregnant and she's about to go into labor or give birth or something. And as the time comes up closer, he will give her a perineal massage every night or something like that. Just using these two fingers. I say that that would be a great way. Using your coconut oil, or something like that. I think that that is what every menopausal or perimenopausal woman should do.
Okay.
Or if you
Beautiful.
don't want to do it, have your partner do it for you.
Well, what I definitely would love you to do is, as I said, drop me any links,
Okay.
podcasts, websites, whatever that I can put in the replay email for women who their husband is not or partner is not going to come and speak to you because that's like absolutely not. But
Right.
she will go and research, and then if she feels comfortable to have the conversation, and list, this is what I found. Send it the email to them or the website to their partner and say, this is what I want.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I can definitely do that.
Definitely send me that. Bless you, Natalie. Woo! Any final thoughts before we close off? Because I don't want to hold Ramona on too much longer. I know you have patients, clients to see.
Yeah, no, I think we've got some really great nuggets here. Like I've gotten a few little rituals that we can start to bring into our space. Lubricating the vagina regularly, as you say, the perineum massage, the affirmations, loving up on your body, really giving yourself some self-care and self-love to improve your feeling of sensuality and connectedness with self and appreciation for self so that we can then take that towards our partners. I think that's really cool. And then making sure that the physicality is taken care of so that we do have lubrication, we are considering the supplements or the hormonal replacement to ensure that we're good in that way and feel no way. Men need to make sure they're good too, you know?
Yeah.
And
Well,
men go through a thing called menopause. Men go through a thing too, you know.
Menopause.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
andropause,
not as
absolutely.
Menopause.
it's just not as intense
Hmm.
for them. But yeah, they do. And then I mean, we're worried about getting not being wet enough, and they're worried about their
Not
penis
being
not
hard
getting
enough.
hard. Like it's like non-existent.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
one would you prefer? I think we won.
No, it's a
We won.
conversation that we have to have with our partners, because if the woman is in her mid or in her menopause and she's doing all of this and she's feeling vibrant and she's sexy and her libido is up and her partner is not, there's a disconnect.
Yeah, it defeats the whole purpose.
So it is a
Yes.
conversation that's important. And I know you're going to share with us, well, share with me so I can put it in the replay email how any husband, wife, partner, whoever would love to come and have a consultation with you, have that come as a couple, learn together. So that I'm going to definitely put that in the replay email, Ramona,
Okay.
so you'll send me that as well, your
Yeah,
actual
man.
contact information, so that people can come and talk in a safe space.
It's safe
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. Exactly.
Facts.
Awesome. Well, ladies, thank you so much. Ramona, thank you so
It
much for your
has been
time. This was
awesome.
amazing.
Thank you for having me. Much
Yeah. Thank you.
appreciated. You
And
guys
have
are
a
awesome.
wonderful rest. Thank you. Have a lovely rest of your Monday.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, and have a great week, ladies. Let's
Thank you
get
Definitely.
so
it.
much. And we'll share the link when it's up on YouTube.
All
Yes,
right, awesome.
yes,
When
definitely.
you
Thank
come.
you for that. Thank you for that, Natalie. Yes, I'm going to be uploading that by this afternoon or tomorrow, and then everybody jump on and check it out on YouTube.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank
Bye,
you.
All right,
everybody.
ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.